Got started right at a lobby reset, but it is going to be time for the season finale here of the Grand Prestige League. We're going to go ahead and get ready to go here. It should be a lot of fun here tonight. Looking forward to it. It's always a good time here at the Grand Prestige League for the season finale here of the LMP Masters Series. So we're just going to go ahead and wait until the lobby is reset. There it is. The lobby has officially been reset and ready to go here. We're going to go ahead and join in. And once again, season finale here. So Nuco's already pretty much won the championship. There is really no kind of disputing that. The championship is pretty much wrapped up here at this point. Nuco could DNF and still take the title with him. But we will see how today's race goes, because unlike the other races that we have previously had over the course of the season, it's a one make race. So it is the TSO 30 gonna go ahead and they're gonna take to the track in that very, very, very snappy car, as we are still going through the Gran Turismo server lottery. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see how it goes. We may have to actually reset this if it doesn't give us an error here soon. We do know that sometimes Gran Turismo servers like to be a bit finicky. But in the meantime, I will go ahead and just give you guys a bit of track information. It is 18 corners around this track. It's a very twisty, very narrow track. There we go. Now it finally gave us an error. It is a very twisty track. It's very narrow. Overtaking opportunities are pretty slim here. Your best run is straight out of turn 14, known as Spoon, and all the way to 130R. And then to start finish straights, you can make some risky dive bombs going into the Degnas, but from what I have heard, that is not at all advisable. And from my personal experience, that is not at all advisable. So as the drivers are going to get into the lobby, we do have some new announcements in regards to teams. The Foxhound Speed Group does have a new title sponsor coming into the brand new season. That was announced a few days ago, so it's always good to see that. Starlight Designs will be their new partner going into the new season of Super Formula. So always good to see new teams getting pretty good sponsors. And some other driver market news. MayJP has officially signed with High Caliber Racing for either SWT or WEC, depending on which one he qualifies for. And then as we head to the track, there is a new team that will be joining in next season. A brand new team will be joining, well, another new team will be joining the Grand Prestige League. For this race, the community, I think any following events, and also especially the Super Formula season, it is the LFO Racing Squadron of ASJ, AK F16, and Tallman. So they both have been signed to this brand new LFO roster, and I mean, based on the podiums that they have gotten, or Tallman's had some pretty decent performances throughout the season, and then ASJ getting a podium on his last time out. So there's already rumors circulating about those two drivers potentially joining an LFO roster, and now it is pretty much official. So you'll see these very nice white, black, and blue liveries, which that's another thing about liveries here in Grand Prestige League, is that they're always absolutely fantastic. So, and actually, Ducadono is back. He is back to racing here in the Grand Prestige League. He took some time out. I believe it was due to an injury that he sustained, but he is back and ready to go racing. Welcome back, Ducadono. It is always good to see a returning face here at the Grand Prestige League. So once again, welcome back. We missed you, and we're so glad you are back here with us. So we're gonna go ahead and continue on. I think we are still waiting on one other driver to load in. I think we're waiting on Illusion to go ahead and jump in. So that's pretty much all we are waiting for at this time. And then we're gonna go ahead and get started. So once again, this is the season finale here of the Grand Prestige League. And there is Illusion. So here's an interesting thing though, is that Pixel aka Yuki is actually not present today. So he is another driver who consistently is on the podium. So we might see that podium door kind of get blown wide open here. We could see Ducadono return to the podium. We could see Kamajur get a podium here today. Tallman and ASJ, the two LFO drivers, could potentially get a podium. ASJ had some really good pace in Fuji last time out, so maybe he can grab back-to-back podiums, which will do wonders for his stock in the driver market. And then MayJP, he was so close yet so far away from getting a podium last time out. The high caliber racing driver has a pretty good shot at getting a podium here as well. Almost had it in Fuji, but one slight mistake kind of ended that run. But here's another thing too, it's everybody is going to be in the same car, so you know that with everybody in the same car, there isn't that car like bonus or deficit like we've seen throughout the regular season here. I mean, we know that the Audi was pretty much one of the best cars available and the Toyota kind of suffered a bit, but now we're all in Toyotas. But this isn't the TSO 50 that was used during the season. This is the TSO 30 that was used in preseason. And if you remember, this man right here, who is pretty much right at the final chicane of the circuit, had a bit of a rough time in this car at Road Atlanta during our preseason. Actually, I think everybody did. So this car is relentless. This car is very snappy. It wants to fight you on every single corner. So we do know that the drivers always are going to have a bit of a tough time with this car. We'll see who is going to succeed and who is going to falter today. But it is the last 60-minute race here of the season. And then we are going to go ahead and get ready and turn our eyes to the GPL 250. Which there's been rumors on when that is supposed to start. I believe it is actually now expected to start right around the end of November. So a bit of a gap in between, but if there's any other news about any racing series in between, or even if the GPL 250 gets moved up to be at a more recent date, then we will go ahead and let you guys know through our socials. So go ahead and follow us at the Grand Prestige League. And of course, I have to give a shout out to W.GG, the energy drink partner of the Grand Prestige League. Remember to use promo code GPL at checkout for a 10% discount that also supports the league, so we can do some really, really cool stuff in the future. So, interesting thing to note is that we do have 8 drivers here in today's session, so about 6 cars away from what would be considered a full session here. So pretty good grid here for this series. This series isn't as populated as our regular outings, but it's still going to be some fast and furious racing here today. Suzuka is pretty much, it's going to be a qualifying race to kind of kick things off. So qualifying is a crucial factor in the race, and it's supposed to be a light to dark race, so it may get pretty dark here pretty early on in the race, because in the practice session right before the lobby got reset, it was pretty much pitch black just about. So we'll see how these drivers handle that. So let's go ahead and just run through our field and just kind of get a who's who of who is here for today's season finale. On the top of the times, as of right now here in this practice session, it is ASJ, also known as F16, one of the 2 recent signees to LFO Racing. MayJP, the most recent signing to the high caliber racing team. And then we have the returning Ducadono. Like we said earlier, it's so good to have him back here in the series. We did miss that beautiful Red Bull Adidas car going around circuit. Keminger is back as well, bringing out the Hololive Racing livery. And then we have the other LFO signee of Tallman. And then we have current champion Nuko. And then we have Rogue, who is running a Cars 2 inspired livery. That's always nice to see. And then we have the Exodus Motorsports driver, the SF 500 winner of Illusion, who is going to be championship runner-up. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to go here. We're going to go ahead and get things rocking and get things rolling here. So we're going to just go ahead and get things all fired up here. We're about to get ready for racing action here at the Grand Prestige League. It is the season finale here. We are going to go ahead and go for 60 minutes at Suzuka. It's going to be fast, it's going to be furious, but ultimately it's going to be a heck of a way to send off the final race of the season. So there we go. I just had to make a quick post into the Discord about the community stream series, and then we're gonna go ahead and get racing. And I already seen a few drivers in the chat already saying it's good to see Duckadono back on the grid. It's fantastic that we got him back on the grid. I also can't wait to see Arturo back on the grid as well, because I know he was dealing with an injury towards the latter half of the GPL season, the Super Formula season. He actually got pole position with an injury. I want to say it's a torn meniscus, which is a rough injury to have. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this goes for these drivers. The drivers are getting ready. We're about to go for the final qualifying session of the season here at the Grand Prestige League Community Series. The LMP Master Series is going to come to an end here today. And thank you all so much for tuning on in to today's season finale. As now the most recent signees are the only cars on track at the moment. You have the two LFOs and the high caliber of May JP. And I've had the pleasure of talking with these guys quite a lot recently. I mean, these two are all really good friends, so it's always good to see good friends racing together. I believe these three actually know each other in person, which is just so cool. It really is kind of a small world now you think about it. You got three drivers from two different teams can all essentially just about be in the same room racing together. It's just a really fun thought. But yeah, it's really good to see, and also it's awesome to see new teams joining into the Grand Prestige League. We know of two brand new teams officially joining in, and the first one is Racing Force jumping back in with Racing Force BMW. They're coming back to the series. And then we have LFO, which is actually a brand new racing org as well. So once again, it's going to be a fun one here. I mean, it's going to be a chaotic one too. It's going to be stressful for these drivers because this is not an easy track to pass on. And if anyone's ever raced here, you'll know that this track is not super easy to pass on. The overtaking opportunities are very, very limited. And then obviously, you know that it's a car that likes to bite, but here we go. Qualifying is underway. We're about to go ahead and get ready for our final qualifying of the season. And the qualifying timer is away with Nuko going ahead and being the first car on track. Nuko, current championship leader, and let's face it, he is the champion already, so I mean, it's all but confirmed at this point. But he's going to go ahead and give it his all here to go ahead and finish this on a high note. Taking a look at the standings here, Nuko is currently has 154 points to Illusion's 105. So there's a few drivers that could really make some really make some good up-roads here in the championship. MayJP has the potential to actually jump up into P3 in the championship, which this is his first season of any format here in the Grand Prestige League. So getting a P3 in your first, even if it is a community series, P3 in your first season is really good optics. So MayJP could put on a pretty good show here. Yuki is not racing here today, so but MayJP would have to score 19 points if he wants to go ahead and jump ahead of Pixel here. So I think he would have to probably get a podium, maybe a P2. I'd have to look at how the point structure works, but MayJP has the potential of getting P3 here. I mean, a win would certainly put him up there, but yeah, we'll just kind of have to see how today's race goes. But ultimately, there's a lot that can happen here. I mean, there's some other drivers here who could have some pretty good inroads here, as Nuko is going to go ahead and begin the first flying lap of our qualifying session here. So he's going to go ahead and make his way down through the hairpin, and now he's going ahead and getting to the S's. Now, dirty air is going to be a bit of a struggle for these drivers here, especially for a car that likes to get snappy anyways. Nuko's already kind of looking like he's trying to fight this car, trying to fight this Toyota. He's going to go ahead and make his way through. Now he's approaching the Degnas, which is turns 8 and 9. So he's going to go ahead and make it through. Now this is a really easy corner. If you carry too much speed, you can end up straight into the gravel, which could ultimately really hurt your run. Now they're making way to the hairpin. Nuko. Now here's another spot you can really kind of make or break your time, just because it is such an interesting corner on the circuit. Now going to go ahead and make their way on through, heading up to Spoon now, which is probably honestly one of my favorite corners on the track aside from 130R. So he's going to go ahead and get on through. And now this is the big run, probably the best run to actually try to get overtake done. It is 850 meters, just over a half mile. So you can, this is probably your best spot to go for overtakes. And you can go through 130R too. We've seen some pretty good overtakes there in various forms of motorsports. The 2006 or 2005 Fernando Alonso overtake in that corner is probably one of the most famous overtakes in motorsport history. But Nuko's going to go ahead and set the quickest time of the session to kick things off with a 140.8. And now Illusion is essentially his eternal rival, because these two usually duke it out in every series possible. Although Illusion has admitted that this hasn't been his series, especially after his retirement in Fuji. And there's some drivers who just do good with some cars and drivers who just don't. We know Illusion, it's nothing against Illusion's skill, because I mean Illusion is a champion in his own right, and also the winner of the 2025 Super Formula 500. So he's already a driver that has a good amount of accolades already behind him. He was one of the co-team champions last season in the Super Formula, when Exodus pretty much took just about a clean sweep in the GPL. ASJ, though, getting a pretty good time. He's starting up in P3 as it sits at the moment. Still about over 2.5 seconds away from Nuko's pace, but it is still early times in qualifying here. Still a few drivers yet to the lap. Rogue is actually in a pretty good spot too. Ducadono he's got a time of a 1:45, about 5 seconds slower than Nuko, but once again, in early qualifying session, this track is going to get more and more rubbered in. The drivers are going to get more and more used to the car and to the fuel load. 3 drivers have yet to set times: Keminger, Tallman, and MayJP, as the LFO car makes its way around the circuit, going into the Degnas. And I know these drivers have put in tons of hours of practice into this track, so it'll be interesting to see whose practice paid off the most. Rogue could potentially be in a really interesting spot here for his qualifying time. He could actually put into a pretty decent performance, although he is on LMP. He is getting a good amount of a tow from Tallman just up the road ahead, and it's really interesting seeing that that Cars 2 livery just here on circuit. It's pretty neat. as Tallman is going to continue, and there's a bit of contact between the two. I think Rogue might have hit the back of Tallman there. It's an interesting one to say the least, but hopefully it didn't affect him too much, because the last thing we want is for anybody's qualifying to get affected by something like that. It didn't look like it affected him too much though, or maybe it might have just been a bit of a connectivity thing preventing that from coming to fruition. But Tallman's making his way through turn 18 now. He's going to come across the line, and it is a 147.9, so a little bit far back there as Decadono jumps up into fourth. Keminger now also jumping up into fourth, so AJP, the only driver to have yet to set a time here in this session. And we're going to just see how he goes here. Making his way through the chicane. He's coming through the final corner now. And we'll see, he's going to jump up to fourth right behind ASJ, his good friend. And we have our initial run setting the pace here, but there's still quite a few drivers still trying to get some good laps in here. As Rogue, I know, has just started on another lap. I mean, this is a pretty fitting livery here for Suzuka. Making his way into Spoon now. Rogue is another driver that has been kind of tipped to join the Exodus Motorsports roster. So we'll see if he ends up joining either as a reserve or a full-time driver. There's been rumors about B23 as well. B23 has been taking part in a drifting championship, and speaking of drifting, Rogue just sends a bit of a drift through. Oh, that's a bad rejoin there. Oh, into Illusion, and I think everybody was just trying to avoid that incident there, so bit of a car crash there. We'll see if we can get that there. So, yep. Oh, yep, there he goes. He had to spin there. Illusion just giving a reminder about blue flags. I think that was just mostly a lot of people just trying to get out of the way, because that was kind of a car that did just kind of rejoin there, and it caused a little bit of chaos at the end of that straight, so, or right at the exit of the Spoon. So it'll be interesting to see what the stewards kind of decide on that front, but once again, we'll just kind of see how the stewards kind of, or how the stewards kind of view it. Anyways, we are down to a little under 5 minutes to go in this session for qualifying here. And then qualifying will be done for the last time of the season, as we have some drivers going out through some laps. Now the number 62 car of Illusion, the owner of Exodus Motorsports, gonna go ahead and give it a go here. He's gonna make his way through the hairpin. He's gonna try to close the gap to his rival here. The rival that he's had since essentially it feels like the dawn of time. It's always been Nuko and Illusion kind of just duking it out, just fighting for every kind of position, and pretty much trading blows here, because Nuko won the championship in season 6, and Illusion would win the SF25 or the Super Formula 500. And then Nuko is now taking a win here in this series. So maybe we might see the pattern kind of continue on, and maybe we might see Illusion fighting for the championship once again in the Super Formula Series. Or he might take the win in the GPL 250 coming up. So we'll just have to see. Coming across the line now. Is it going to be an improvement? It will be an improvement of time, but not position. Illusion does improve by quite a margin. And now he's going to have to try to give it another go. Tallman does improve his time, but not his position either. This time he's only about half a second behind Rogue. MayJP jumps up into P3 here after his time. So he is only 1.2 seconds off the pace of Illusion and Nuko. Just under a second away from Illusion's time there. So I know MayJP is going to be definitely one of the drivers to kind of watch during this championship coming up. He's been very consistent. He's got a chance of getting P3 here. If we get like what we had in Fuji, where either Illusion or Nuko has an issue and has to DNF, and MayJP gets second or even to win, then he could take third in this championship. He'd have to score 19 points to jump into P3. So that's pretty much what's at stake here for him. Field of drivers still having their own little championship battles to kind of go on, but this midfield is actually pretty close together. I mean, barely a second separates MayJP to Kevin Schur, so this battle for the third position could be interesting, as ASJ will be going through his lap here pretty soon. Rogue is currently on a lap right now. But I guess we'll need to really talk about the GPL 250 because... Oh, and he loses it again in Spoon. He's going to try to get a rejoin, but hopefully he'll be able to get out of the way because there are some other cars coming. Ducadono is going to go ahead and go on through. And as we ride onto the nose cone of the returning Red Bull Adidas driver with a little over 3 minutes to go in quali. He's not improving though on this lap, so he's gonna try to make some improvement. He can probably make up about half a second here if he takes it drastically better than he did previously, which I didn't see how he took it previously, so a bit of speculation here, but he will have another chance to give it another go. 2 tenths down, so he's gonna go ahead and give it another go here. Another driver I believe is looking forward to giving it another go here will be ASJ, so we'll jump back with the Fighting Falcon after we go through this lap with our returning Red Bull Adidas driver of Ducadono. Ducadono now making his way through the S's, which is going to be a nightmare for Dirty Air in tonight's race, because Dirty Air and on this track in general is always a bit of a concern. It's always rough around this track, so we'll see how drivers navigate it. But now we have Ducadono exiting the Degnas there. He's up by 2 tenths of a second, which will improve his time, but not his position. But it'll at least increase the gap between himself and Rogue. So about 2 minutes to go in qualifying. So that'll probably give drivers enough time for about 2 more laps, roughly here. So roughly about 2 more laps for each driver, depending on how their out lap is going. Ducadono is going to make his way through Spoon, and now he's got a good run here. Gets a bit onto the curbing there, and now he's going to make the run down the 850 meter log straight. Going into 130R. He is not improving though, he's lost some time there. He is down by half a tenth, which isn't a lot, but it's still not going to be improvement. He needs to improve by about 1.5 seconds if he wants to jump up any positions to break into that top 5. So we'll just kind of have to see where it goes. He does improve though. He'll improve his time, but not his position. ASJ will be right behind him. He's not improving either, but he'll get another go at it, as Rogue does set a new time. Illusion is going to be done in qualifying here. He has come into the pits. He's currently sitting in P2. We'll see where the Fighting Falcon can go here. He's going to come across the line. He doesn't improve, but he will have one more go at it, but he doesn't have a lot of battery to work with here. What about MayJP? Oh, he's got a half-second penalty, so that's probably not going to do him any favors here, but there's still potential for his lap. Championship leader Nuko is on his final lap as well, so a lot of drivers currently on their final laps or in the pits. So Tallman is done, Kevin Schur is done, and Illusion is done. So, and Illusion citing the wind, which the wind is pretty brutal here, especially in these cars that are pretty snappy. And actually Nuko's done, he's parked it. He had a bit of a moment there, so he did park it. So MayJP is done. He will not improve his time. He's currently in third, which is a really good result for him. A few more drivers still on the lap. We'll see if ASJ can improve. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. Oh, he's in the pits as well, so he is done and dusted. Anyone else can go for an improvement. We will see how this is going to play out for these drivers. Just a little bit of time to go. We'll see who can make their improvements here, if anyone. And nope, no improvements across the board. And that is qualifying done and dusted. Nuka will be the last one to do a lap, but it is not gonna. It's not gonna be improvement. He is 15 seconds off, so some drivers are already not happy with the qualifying pace, but qualifying is about getting one lap. But the race, you have 60 minutes of consistent laps that you'll need to put in. So we'll see who can go ahead and get it going and who can make up the most positions from where they started. I think the drivers with the most potential to do that are Tallman, Rogue, and Dokadono, because those three drivers could really make up some positions here if they get a if they could get some good spots, if they get some good jumps here. And ASJ saying he lost about 0.8 of a second. That would have actually put him ahead of AJP. But the wind is just catching these drivers out on a car that's already super sensitive to begin with. I mean, we saw all throughout the preseason sessions where drivers would just kind of lose it and just ultimately just kind of bin it on specific corners. I mean, you got the S's, which are already a tough spot for these cars, but yeah, it's not exactly a ideal, definitely not an ideal time for wind. But now it is time for 60 minutes of racing here around Suzuka. This is going to be a very, very fun race. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be taxing for the drivers here. 3.8 miles, 5.8 kilometers. And yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for these drivers. They're going to be winded. They're going to be exhausted, but ultimately they are going to give it their all here to kind of rack up as many points as they can for the season finale here. And I mean, here's the thing too. F16 could jump up some positions. He is in a pretty good spot too. He's only 1 point behind Alex, who is not taking part in today's race. So if he get a good result, he could jump up into 7th. Tallman could jump ahead of Comer, potentially, if he gets a good enough results. I think those are the main drivers who can really jump up any kind of positions here. The biggest one is MayJP potentially jumping into, MayJP potentially jumping into P3 here in the championship. That's going to be the big one, but anyways, we're going to take a quick step back until we get going for racing here at Suzuka for 60 minutes in the season finale. We'll be back. Alright, so we're about to go ahead and get racing here. Alright, apparently they're waiting on me, and so that was funny. They're waiting on me, and I was waiting on them, so that was a kind of a funny mix-up, but we're ready to go. So this is going to be our official W.GG hydration announcement. Be sure to go ahead and get hydrated, get some water, get some W if you have it, because W does have a handful of hydration products here, so we'll just kind of have to see if they bring in any GPL inspired flavors in the future. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. Just remember, use promo code GPL at checkout for a 10% discount. And to answer some of the questions in chat, qualifying was already done. It was a 15-minute qualifying session earlier on. They reset it because there's pretty heavy time progression here, so they reset it just to kind of get back to the starting point of day. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get racing here for the final race of the season. Nuco will take us to green here. Rain is, there's a very slim potential rain here, which could really shake things up here, but it is not likely. So rain has the potential of hitting here. And here we go. We have been through 6 rounds already, and it's about to be round number 7. Nuco will take us to the light. And we are go here for the final round of the season here. And it's already a good launch from Nuco, who did lead this field to green. No position changes through the opening corner. Oh, but we do have Rogue going wide. Tall Man will sling it down through. And Tall Man is going to move up position here. No other positional changes as of yet. Nuco's already having a very, very strong start here. But now it comes the S's. It is so tricky to follow the car head through the S's because of the dirty air on this track. Now they make their way through the Degnas. And there's already some pretty solid gaps already forming here at the beginning of the race. So we'll just see how it goes for the rest of it. Wind was a pretty massive contributing factor in qualifying. Some drivers losing out on 0.8 of a second due to having to compensate for the wind. But right now, Lucian is already pulled away 1.3 seconds ahead from Nuco. MayJP was so close to getting his first ever podium in Grand Prestige League last time out, but ASJ just beat him to it. And it looks like ASJ is ready to fight with a win. He's fighting with that Toyota. This Toyota is a very, very snappy car indeed. So it is expected to be about 35 laps of racing here. So we'll just see how close we are to that metric. But as of right now, there's a lot of close battles here. Duckadona is caught up to the back of Camazur here. The returning Red Bull Adidas racing driver trying to get something to happen here, as Rogue and Tallman are going to go ahead and fight it out. Rogue will get the position, but Tallman is going to go ahead and try to get close to try to make a pass. He's got good slipstream. Is he going to try to make the move into turn 1? He thinks better of it. Turn 1 is not really a good spot to try to get overtakes done here. Usually you want to wait till after Spoon or on the start-finish straight to try to get a move done. You could potentially make it into the first turn, but it's not usually well advised. But jumping back up here to the mid-pack, and it looks like everybody's already relatively pretty far spread out, so we won't see battles here happening in the foreseeable future. MayJP having some pretty good form around the track as ASJ just struggling a bit in that LFO car. But wind has been catching everybody out here on today's race, so I think that's just the case of it. I mean, it's really bad. And oh, Duckadono's fallen way back. Duckadono having a lot of damage there, so we'll see what happens here. So he goes through Degna 2 and just a bit too much on the curbing, and oh! Big contact between him and Rogue. That's going to drop Rogue pretty far back, and now Rogue is back behind Tallman. Tallman's going to go ahead and try to continue to push on and try to get these positions here. He's got about 6 seconds to Camazur, but Rogue is going to go ahead and try to get that place back. And as we see here, so about half the field is opposite. Oh, and ASJ has a... No, that's not ASJ. That's Kevin Sure having a spin there. Oh, right in the Casio triangle. That's not good. Good on Tallman on the road for dodging that one. The wind is just catching these drivers out. So that's definitely something. It's been a factor here in this race. The wind is just catching these drivers out. And that's pretty much just been the deciding factor for a lot of these things. But Tallman has definitely improved. He's improved up to 5th. And I mean, sometimes just staying out of trouble is your best way of coming through this field. So good on Tallman. He's avoided a good amount of accidents. So, and to answer the question, yes, it is a light damage here in the series. So the damage will repair after roughly 30 seconds of time. So that's pretty much how this is going to play out. We are only a few minutes in, or just about 5 minutes in. There's already been a good amount of drama. And here's the thing, the wind is only picking up. So the wind has picked up a bit here, as Kevin is now trying to push pressure onto Rogue. And now this is kind of a three-way battle. You can kind of see that this is kind of split up into 3 battles and then the unfortunate Ducky Dono. So we have a three-way battle here for 5th, for the final spot in the top 5. And then we have, oh, and Rogue goes a bit wide there, so that's going to give a bit of breathing room to Tallman. But now here's probably the best part 2 overtake on this track. And then the other battle is you have F16 and BJP, and then you have Lusion and Nuko. But even then, these guys have kind of been spread far apart, so we're going to drop back here to this battle for P5 here. As Kevin Sure is going to try to get closer. He's going to try to close in the gap to Rogue. And now we'll just kind of have to see how the rest of this race plays out. And, I mean, it's interesting too, right? Because there's some parts where the wind really does help. But there's other parts, especially I think it adds a good amount of downforce, I believe, through the S's. But there's some other corners where the wind can really catch someone out. I mean, in qualifying, this qualifying order could have been pretty well different. I mean, Lucian could have been close to the pole position. ASJ could be in the top 3. I think Kevin Sure had some time on the board as well. I think a lot of the drivers had some pretty good time left on the board, but ultimately, just due to that wind, it just kind of caught some drivers out. So the wind is expected just to get only heavier from here. So we'll see if the tailwind does hit some of these drivers. As well, these aren't as aerodynamically dependent as the Super Formula cars are. There's still a lot of... These cars are still pretty aero sensitive. As, I mean, these cars were at the peak of LMP 1 regulations where spending was just through the roof. Actually, not quite the peak. A few years before the peak, but still spending was insane on this during this era of top-level World Endurance Championship. Tallman having a bit of a snap there. I believe that's where the tailwind is. And Kevin Sure has spun around again. So Kevin Sure is out of this battle. But Rogue and Tallman, they've been pretty much going at it through most of the season, trying to make a move into 130R. But Tallman puts on the defense. And he's going to hold on to that position for now. Tallman's going to back him out through the Casio triangle. But Rogue is pretty close. So if Rogue gets a good exit here. Oh, Tallman has a snap again. Coming through turn 18, and this is going to be a good run here for Rogue. Rogue is going to close the gap in 10th by 10th by 10th, or I guess by 100th by 100th by 100th. He's going to try, but oh, he almost runs right into the back of Tallman there. So Rogue is trying to find a move, but there just hasn't been any space for one here yet. But good defense though from the LFO driver, trying to put some really good defense here. The man who started in 8th is holding on to 5th like his life depends on it. As ASJ now has a half-second penalty, so it's not going to be... It hasn't been smooth sailing for either of the LFO drivers. And Rogue, he's going to get bit into the grass, taking a pretty hefty corner cut. But he did lose a handful of time there, so he might get away without a penalty, but it's always tricky to know with GT7's penalty system, so it'll always be kind of tricky to see who gets a penalty where, but I think he did get away with that one, so Tall Man now is going to go ahead and start to stretch his legs a bit, try to pull away from Rogue, but Rogue has a pretty solid pace here tonight, so I think Rogue might catch the back of Tall Man again, and then this battle will be a huge factor once again. He's already caught back up, so here's the thing, Rogue has been pretty aggressive here tonight, but it just hasn't really worked out for him in most cases. So we're going to ride on top now of the World Grand Prix car, the car inspired by Cars 2, and Tall Man goes a bit deep in the Casio triangle, bit of avoiding action, have to be taken up by Rogue, and Rogue will just about get that move done, but he won't get it done there by coming through the start-finish straight. He most certainly will have it. He's closing in, he's going to try, but no, Tall Man's on the defense again, and Tall Man is just not making this easy for Rogue, is he? But, oh, we have another battle here. Ducadono and Chemisher are fighting it out again. So this is a battle that's closed up as well. So a good amount of battles happening up here through the field. We'll kind of bounce between these two battles here as Rogue is kind of falling away, but Ducadono, I mean, then again, the S's, you lose so much time in the S's trailing another car. The dirty air on this track is just abysmal for trying to follow someone through. So, I mean, yeah, it's a bit of, it's unfortunate to see how some really good battles just kind of get thrown away due to the dirty air on this track being a factor. But once again, Rogue and Tall Man are probably going to be the El Clasico of the night, just because these guys have been going at it for so long, for lap after lap after lap. So we'll see Tall Man having massive moments here through Spoon. That's going to open the door wide open for Rogue. And Rogue, he's knocking on the door. He's like, hello, anybody home? I would like this position, please. But Tall Man's defense is just, he has become the British Minister of Defense here tonight. Tall Man, I mean, it's a tall order for him to try to hold off Rogue for that amount of time, but he's making it work so far. And big snaps for the both of them here as the wind continues to pick up. This Toyota is a very snappy car. Like, I mean, we saw it all through preseason when we were doing our preseason quali in this exact Toyota, and this thing takes no prisoners. It will bite on every possible opportunity here. And we are just seeing that here tonight. This thing is very loose. I don't think all the downforce in the world could save this car sometimes. I mean, Tall Man having a bit of up and off there through the gravel, coming at the end of the S's, and that will put Rogue back up into the top 5. And once again, I mean, this car is not for the faint of heart to drive. And now we are back to new battles here on track at the moment. I think everybody's just kind of got into a settling rhythm here, but we'll just kind of have to see if there's any battles that do come up. It really just takes one spin for a battle to kind of ignite itself here. Nuco Illusion though showing why they are the class of the field here, as they are just absolutely running away. But it is also worth noting that they are the only two drivers who have started on a set of soft tires, so those soft tires are really coming into play here in the early stages of the race. We'll see, because here's the thing, we have to remember Illusion tried a more aggressive strategy in Fuji, and it honestly didn't exactly work out for it. So yeah, we'll just kind of have to see how the strategy does play out for them. I mean, granted, since these are two of the quickest drivers in the entire league, I mean, both of these drivers are champions. I mean, Nuco is pretty much already champion in this series. And then you have Illusion, who won the Super Formula 500, and both of these drivers have been Super Formula champions in the past, with Nuco being the current Super Formula champion. So these drivers have definitely been class of the field, but just taking a look at this field here, there's a lot of drivers who will be rookies coming into the Super Formula season. You got ASJ here, who's going to be making his debut. May JP also making his debut. Now, May JP has had some running in Super Formula cars. He has raced in the Draken Racing League. So he does have Super Formula experience, the high caliber racing driver who has been signed for the start of next season. Has a pretty good fan base behind him coming into, well, ever since he showed up here at Grand Prestige League. He's had a good amount of fanfare. But then we take a look through the rest of the field. Keminger is going to be a veteran here. Rogue would be a rookie. Tallman actually must have made another mistake. He's fallen to the back of this pack here, but he'll be another rookie joining in on behalf of LFO. So we'll just kind of have to see how these drivers navigate this new season, as the season was actually expected to start later on in November, but with the announcement of the Spec 3 update, it has been pushed back, with pre-qualifying going to be happening, I think, about a week or two after the Spec 3 update drops. And then January is the projected start date of the Super Formula season. So, once again, good things to come here. The GPL 250 is expected to go live, and with the Super Formula series kind of being delayed due to the Spec 3 update, there's going to be potentially another community series being run. From what I've heard, another community series might be in the works, or a few more one-off races. The GPL 250 and the F3500s at Monza is our next event. So that is expected for, I believe the projected time now is late November, so the last week in November is going to be the expected time for that. In the meantime, we might have some other one-off races here, but we'll just kind of have to see. I know some of these drivers do have commitments in other series, like I believe some of these drivers will be competing in the Enduro GT race in early November. So I believe there's actually quite a few drivers attending that event. So just to kind of give some perspective here, I mean, even if we don't have an event here, and Tallman actually did get past Ducadono, so we'll try to get a replay of that as that position has changed. So, oh, it's just Ducadono going wide through the Degnas. Both drivers actually going wide through the Degnas. So I just want to see how this pass is made. And Tallman just gets back on track quicker. Yeah, a lot of drivers are making a ton of mistakes, so I think this car and track combo, here we go. It's going to be a drag race here. The car and track combo might be a bit of a rough one for some, but here we go. Drag race here between Tallman and Ducadono. Ducadono is going to go ahead and win that battle out for now, as the returning Red Bull Adidas driver is going to go ahead and retake P7 on track. Hasn't been the greatest of races for him here today, but we'll just kind of have to see if his race can improve. He's still going to have Tallman pretty much hot on his heels. So Tallman is going to close in the gap to Ducadono a little bit, but it seems like that Tallman is better on some of these corners. But once again, now we're going to be on the part of the track that is so tough for these cars to follow through. You got the dirty air coming off the S's. The wind has changed directions quite drastically here. It is slowed down a bit, but it has ultimately changed direction. So we'll see how this wind affects the drivers here. Tallman is still going to go ahead and try to close to the back of Ducadono here. They're going to go through the Degnos. Now this is where both the drivers had their moment last time out. Took it a bit better this time, although Ducadono, I believe, ultimately did take that corner better, so he's going to continue to increase that gap here as they make their way through the hairpin. And we'll just kind of see how the rest of this event goes. We are a little over 15 minutes in, closing in on a third of the way through the race here. The thing I'm going to be really curious about is the tire life on our front runners here. Is Lucian hasn't really had the best of times here. He's still going to be P2 in the championship kind of regardless, even if he didn't participate in this race. Pixel wouldn't have been able to jump him. He would have actually had to win to jump him here, and MayJP is a bit too far back to jump him as well. I think MayJP would have had to win to even get close to jumping Illusion here, but this podium will actually do wonders for the rookie driver. And so far, some of the rookies are having a pretty decent outing here. ASJ is another driver that's going to have some eyes on him coming into the season. He did get a podium in Fuji last time out. It is only his second GPL race here, so. And I was talking with him throughout the week, and he said that he is really excited for the Super Formula Series. He loves driving the SF23, so if he's got good performances in this car, then he might have some really good ones in the Super Formula car. And that actually goes for MayJP as well. MayJP also another driver that could really shake things up here. But yeah, we'll just kind of have to see. And Tallman admittedly isn't having the greatest of races here, but he's had some pretty good performances throughout the season. He had a rough one in Le Mans with the disconnect, but he did manage to get a P5 finish, and he's off the track again through the hairpin. Car and track combo once again just kind of biting some of these drivers here on the evening. But Tallman, there is room for him to grow, so I think if the LFO squadron will be patient with him and give him room to grow, he will turn out to be a mighty fine driver. But yeah, I mean, pre-qualifying is coming up though. It's probably going to be December, but that time is going to fly on by, especially with drivers racing in other series. I know Enduro GT is a big one that a good amount of these drivers are competing in. Here's an interesting fun fact, just about some of the competitions that these drivers will be competing in. Tallman actually is going to be competing in a NASCAR championship on Tuesday, so he'll be contesting that. So it's an interesting way to get some more racing experience, so it'll be interesting to see how he does there in that championship. Also, I do know that a few of these drivers are actually preparing for a not a championship, but a charity race happening in the middle of November. So I believe it is MayJP and the two LFO drivers will be competing in the charity race hosted by the German esports organization of 9 Pegasus Pantera. So I mean, during this off season, it's not like the drivers will be bored without anything to do, because there's definitely a lot of things that they will do, as Illusion will be the first one to come into the pits. He's going to go ahead and shed that soft tire about 20 minutes into the race, so he's probably going to throw on either another set of softs or mediums. And the softs it is, so he'll be going soft, medium here in the race. We'll see when Nuko decides to ultimately pit in, because you probably cannot get to the end of this track on a set of mediums, so it is going to be a 2-stop here, as well as the sun starts to set in the land of the rising sun. And currently the setting sun right now, as it does cast a beautiful glow over parts of the track. And now Nuko is going to go ahead and catch up to the back of Tallman here. Potentially going to go ahead and start lapping some drivers here. But for those of you who have seen so we're going to do a little bit of a chat Q&A here. While pretty much there isn't really many battles to speak of, we do have MayJP and Illusion about to go at it, but MayJP is on a bit of an older tire. So out of the 2 new tracks coming to Gran Turismo with the Spec 3 update and the potential 3rd track of the Shanghai International Circuit, with the other tracks already confirmed being the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, or the Yas Marina Circuit, and then the Canadian Grand Prix as the Gilles Villeneuve Circuit, which I might have butchered that pronunciation, but the Canadian Grand Prix Circuit also making its way into Gran Turismo. Out of those 3 tracks, what is a track that you guys are excited to kind of go ahead and give a shot, and which one would you like to see in the Super Formula season? I don't have any insider info on this calendar, but I would be kind of surprised to see, or to not see, both tracks being brought into the calendar. It would be a interesting one, as Nuko actually did make a pit stop pretty early, or he just made a pit stop. He's on the mediums though, so here comes that difference of strategy here again, as there is a kind of a pseudo 3-way battle for first right now. MayJP making his way through the S's, kind of in a champion sandwich essentially here between the two top drivers. And actually, funny enough, 3 out of the 4 top 4 drivers are just right up here in this kind of sandwich. So I think MayJP will go pretty long on this set of medium tires. Oh, Lucian having a bit of a moment there. Lucian having a bit of a tough one, and ASJ will go on through. But let's get another view just of that incident. Let's get it from the third-person camera here. So he's following MayJP, the dirty air, and onto the grass, and yeah, that's kind of where that one was expected to go. If you get off track here, it can be brutal. So Lucian once again not having a great time in the Japanese tracks here at the end of the calendar. Yeah, I think this would be the first season in a while that Lucian would not have a win in, because Nuko's won every single race aside from Le Mans here in this series, which Comer ended up making a one-off appearance. He won that race and then just kind of despawned essentially. So we'll see, and I think the battle for third is really going to be between MayJP and ASJ, because I think Lucian has a good chance of trying to catch the back of these drivers, and the 2 drivers ahead of him will have to pit in at some point. Maybe medium to medium might be the strategy for everybody else running that medium tire, because I mean, looking at it now, the tires are not really in a bad spot. I mean, you could honestly start on the mediums and try to run it to about maybe 25 minutes to go, and then throw on a set of softs to kind of run out the rest of the race. So there's potential there. It's interesting to see, and I'm actually going to be really curious to see how these drivers do with full tuning, because the Super Formula series is a full tuning series. This one has limited tuning. I believe the only things you can tune in this series are the brake bias, which is basically if you want your brakes to kind of favor the front or the rear of the car, your ride height, which is kind of how low your car is to the ground, and then your downforce levels in the front and back. So, but it'll be full tuning available for the Super Formula series. It has to be a stock Super Formula car, so you cannot have the anti-lag system installed, although I will say those cars sound beautiful with the anti-lag turbo. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how these drivers kind of navigate through this upcoming Super Formula season, as we are just about halfway through. But it is going to be very interesting on the strategy front, because P3 is pretty much wide open between these two, I think, although MayJP has been on stronger form here as of today. He does have the high caliber racing organization backing him, so he's probably getting a lot of really good advice there from Anthony, the owner of High Caliber Racing, and some of the other High Caliber Racing drivers. It is good to see MayJP officially signed to a roster. Actually, I think the only rookie here who I don't believe is officially signed to any roster is the car in P5 right now of Rogue. So we'll just kind of see how this one goes, because Rogue is kind of in a race of his own right now. But then again, everybody aside from Nuko and Illusion have not pit yet. So, and Illusion is obviously going to soft tires, so he's going to try to make a bit of a recovery drive here. But that moment through the Degnas is just, I think that kind of threw a bit of a wrench into his race. But so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and ride on board with the Exodus Motorsports driver, and we're going to take a quick step back, and we'll let you enjoy the sounds of driving. We'll be back. Alright, we are back here, ladies and gentlemen, after a little bit of an onboard lap here with Lucian here as he's trying to close in the gap to ASJ, aka F16, just up the road. He is on fresher tires, so this is coming of no surprise here, but so far Lucian and Nuko are the only drivers to pit. Lucian did have a bit of a moment a few laps ago going through the Degnas, which is how he is behind ASJ at this point. Blue flags are coming up, and luckily for ASJ, it's his teammate just up the road ahead that he will be lapping, so I think that will go through with no issue whatsoever. But so far, it has been mostly dominated by Nuko. He has got a very good lap, or very good gap in the lead of the race. He started on pole and has continued to dominate. Lucian got close at periods, but ultimately just wasn't quite close enough to make anything happen. But Lucian has opted to go on the more aggressive strategy. Tallman will pull off and allow these two cars to go on through, as the sun is fully set here and the headlights are on for these cars here, and it is a kind of a pseudo battle for third. ASJ and MayJP still do need a pit, as pretty much everybody aside from Lucian and Nuko have started on the medium tire compound, so they were still going to try to go. They're probably going to end up going medium, I would think, but ASJ is going to try to hold on, try to keep Lucian as far back as possible, because here's the thing, as ASJ is a bit of a step through the deck. Lucian gets a half a second penalty. His race just keeps going from bad to worse, and honestly, that's kind of the sum of his season here in the Community Series. Just kind of goes from bad to worse from time to time. So this is kind of what happened in Fuji as well, which actually led to F16 getting his first podium last time out. So it's a battle between these two for now. Although, here's the thing though, Lucian is going to have to go ahead and pit again, and ASJ is going to try to make this a one-stop like I think everybody is now Ducadono is into the pits. Return of the Dutchman here. It is always good to see as PlayStation throws a poorly timed notification my direction, twice. 3 times actually. So, PlayStation could have literally picked any better time to send those notifications my way, but just alerting me on some Genshin Impact sale or something I couldn't quite frankly care less about, because what I truly care about in this time is the action we have here on track at Suzuka. It has been pretty, I mean the gaps have been pretty far separated, but right now it is a battle of strategy here, as Ducadono is actually retired from the race, so the Dutchman's return hasn't been as great as he'd like it to be. But even though he did have a unfortunate retirement from this race, it is good to see him back. We did miss him, and hopefully he'll come back stronger in the GPL 250 or the Super Formula Season 7 coming up. But Lucian is once again already on the back, but here's the thing. Lucian's tires are already just about as burned out as ASJ's, and ASJ has not made a pit stop the entire time. So Lucian's got the better tire though at this stage, but not by much. So Lucian is going to try to get to the back of ASJ here. He's going to try, but ASJ trying to defend here, going into Spoon, and good defense there from the British driver, but I think Lucian's tires are going to be a bit better off at this stage, and a bit of a stop from ASJ. That's going to blow the door wide open for Lucian to go ahead and try to get on through. He's going to try. And here we go. And they're going to make the move happen. Coming through 130R. Around the outside. Very Fernando Alonso-esque of Lucian there. He's been wanting that move for several laps now, and he finally gets done. We're going to get that on replay real quick. So here we go. So here's just another replay of that. Lucian's going to go ahead and try to sneak around the outside. And there he goes. Lucian is on through, and he's up into third. But here's the thing though, is I think he's got to pit in again. ASJ, he's probably going to pit in, but he's only going to make a one stop here in this race, because he's already done over half the race on this medium tire. MayJP as well. So once again, with the absence of Yuki, also known as Pixel, the final podium spot is kind of just blown wide open here. So MJP could get his long-awaited first podium, or ASJ could add to his podium, as he does go a bit wide there through the Degnas. But I mean, this next season of Super Formula is gonna shape up to be really nice, honestly, because we do have already a handful of rookies coming in, 2 new teams officially, and more teams potentially on the way. Some teams that might be entering is B&R Motorsports, 9 Pegasus Panthera, and Hellas Racing are all considering jumping in. And Nexus Racing too, that's another team that is also potentially eyeing entry into the GPL. So 4 teams potentially coming in and 2 officially, and also there's been a lot of rumors of the Acura team also potentially making a return. And also there's some other rumors in the driver market as well. I mean, the Exodus Motorsports rosters will be probably finalized here soon. From what I have heard, it is expected that Exo Aston Martin and WEC is expected to keep their same lineup of Pixel Illusion, but the Rapide Squadron and SWT might be a bit of an unknown, because we do know that B23 has recently joined a drifting championship on CarX, so whether he chooses to prioritize that or come back to Super Formula will be up in the air. But if it is up in the air, then Rogue might jump into that seat. So there's a little bit of potential there. Toyota is also likely expected to keep their same lineup. And now Whiteout throwing his hat to the ring, saying if MJP gets a podium here, he might consider joining back. So that'll be an interesting one. What team he'll sign with? I think Whiteout's a bit too quick to get that second Exo Rapide seat, and SWT, I don't think he would qualify for that, but I think MJP's probably got a really good chance of getting a podium here. I mean, he's got a good gap to his closest rival of ASJ. The 2 rivals on track, but good friends behind the scenes. So but then again, we kind of saw this previously where ASJ was pretty far off the back of MJP and Fuji, but MJP made a mistake, and that allowed the Fighting Falcon to get a podium in only his 2nd race here. So the rookie market is shaping up pretty nicely, I will say. The Porsche team might also be an interesting one as well, because there's, as I'm seeing in chat, we'll see if Alex will make a return to the Porsche squadron, or he might end up on a different team. We'll just kind of have to see. But it'll be interesting to kind of see the pecking order next season. There will be a new handling model too, so it'll also be a matter of who can get acclimated and who does the best to the new handling model, because I know sometimes the handling model can make or break a driver's performance, but so the driver market's gonna be pretty interesting, I will say, as Illusion is trying to close up to the back here of MJP. MJP on track to be getting his first ever podium here in the Grand Prestige League. The driver with probably some of the most fanfare I've seen from a rookie driver in my entire commentating career, at least here in the Grand Prestige League. I mean, he came so close to getting it in Fuji, but ultimately in the final few laps, ASJ was able to eke it out, as Kevin Sugar does make his way into the pits now, and wow, that is a bright light here. I guess you need good optics to kind of see the tires, but that just felt like looking at the sun, so I apologize to our viewers. So there goes the tires, here comes the fuel, and Keminger will be back out onto the racing circuit here to finish off the race. I believe he'll be good for the rest of the race. I don't think he'll make or he'll need to make another pit stop here. But just up the road, we do have some battles here, Illusion. But here's the thing though, I think it's a slim chance, right? But slim chance that Illusion could drop out of the podium. I do think it is a slim chance, but I mean, right now his tires aren't looking great. His tires are pretty much at the same stage of AJP's, even though AJP has yet to pit. So, I mean, Illusion will need to get this pass done. He cannot be stuck behind AJP for the same amount of time that he was stuck behind ASJ. Because if that happens, then he could see himself falling out of a podium here. Very slim chance. I think realistically, if we were to see Illusion fall out of the podium, it would have to be a Fuji situation where he would just have to kind of DNF or just kind of have a really weird moment where he would just get teleported or just have another massive incident, which, I mean, with the dirty air here, it's possible, but the wind has died down significantly. It was almost up into the 15s earlier on. So the wind has died down significantly, but well, here's the thing: Illusion actually now jumping into the pit, so we may see MayJP and ASJ coming to the pits next time around, or anybody else who has yet to pit. As for the sponsor, I'm not too sure, honestly. Tallman was the driver who created the liveries here for the LFO squadron. So I believe that's the sponsor that they chose. So and I mean, that's another thing too, is that the driver market could also change for factors outside of Gran Turismo. Just life sometimes does tend to happen. So some drivers may or may not return, just depending on how things in the real world are going. But we'll see. I'll be really curious to see how the Super Formula season does progress and how it ultimately how it kind of pans out, because there's still, I mean, the only roster that I know for a fact is 100% confirmed, or the only driver lineup that I know is 100% confirmed, is the LFO team. LFO will be running Tallman and ASJ. So that'll be the driver lineup, and the 3-second penalty for pit lane violations there. That's going to put a hurting on ASJ. As MayJP is still, I think MayJP is going to go for a medium to soft strategy. I think that's what he's going to try to do here. I don't see him going medium to medium at this stage of the race. I mean, that is good tire preservation there for MayJP, the high caliber driver, who has recently been signed to the high caliber team in recent times. So I'm going to be really curious to see what tire MayJP goes ahead and pits on. Maybe, I think he's going to go on the softs, honestly. I don't see him going on any other tire. So he's going to come into the pits, make that tire change. Likely going onto the soft tire. Going to get a good splash of fuel here. He does have a pretty good gap to his rival of ASJ. And yep, it is the soft tire. He's going to go to the end of this compound here. So I think unless a major incident happens, I think this field is pretty much just going to finish as it is right now. So, but in the meantime, we'll open the floor back to, we'll open up the floor back to commentator Q&As. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask them in chat, and I will go ahead and answer them to the best of my ability, as the cars are pretty far spread out right now. We're actually going to go ahead and do a onboard ride here with, let's actually go on board with ASJ. What we'll do here is we're actually going to do 2 onboard laps. Actually, we might hold off on the onboard laps here at the moment, but it'll be interesting to kind of see how the driver market shapes up, honestly, because like I said earlier, good amount of rookies. There's 4 rookies in this race alone. You got MayJP, the 2 LFOs, and then Rogue, all potentially jumping in for their debut season in Season 7. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see how those rookies do. And it'll be fun to see where they qualify too, because, I mean, it's there's potential that we could see this pretty much split right down the middle, with half of them going to WEC and the other half going to SWT. That's very possible. Or we could see all of them in one or the other. But considering the performances, just based off of this season, I think at minimum ASJ and AJP are going to go WEC. So I believe that's where those two are going to go. Rogue and Tallman, it'll be interesting because there's a good chance that these drivers are drastically better in the Super Format than they are in these cars. So once again, it's all going to be speculation until December when we do our preseason qualifying. But I mean, what do you guys think about the driver market at this time? Because I mean, there's a lot of potential in a lot of these drivers, and I think GPL might have the next generation of superstars coming through. ASJ is on the limit. Let's go on board. Yeah, we can do that. So here we go. It is ASJ making his way through the deck nose. Now, in talking to him earlier this week, he did say that this was a track he wasn't really a fan of. Although he said the same thing for Fuji, but he did get a podium there last time out, so I mean, to be fair, I don't really like Suzuka either, but here's a driver definitely pushing. So some extra. Oh, and there's actually, Whiteout and King returning with Acura potentially. Oh, that's gonna be an interesting one. That'll really spice things up in the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship. But continuing on here with the lap here from ASJ. He's going to make his way down the straight here. This 850 meter long straight coming into 130R. He's going to go ahead and take it flat out. Nicely done there. And he's going to go hard on the brakes for the Casio triangle. And now he's going to complete his lap here. So, I mean, it's been pretty decent lap here at this stage, running on those fresh soft tires. So these guys will definitely go softs to the end of the race here with AJP and ASJ, but it is a tough one because these cars are brutal. This car, I mean, even in pre-qualifying, Nuco around Road Atlanta was having a few issues in this car, and I mean, he's got a pretty dominant gap here to Lujan here, but even that, he had some struggles with this car, so this car is not easy to drive by any stretch of the imagination. If you've driven this car, then you may know that this thing likes to bite. It likes to kick out. It's got a very loose rear end, and ultimately it's just a very, very twitchy car. I drove it earlier today to get some racing shots for it, but yeah, it's not an easy car to drive. So, I mean, interestingly enough, 3 out of the 4 rookies do have confirmed seats for next season, but the thing I'm also going to be really excited to see is how we are going to fill the gap in between now and the upcoming season, because there's a chance it could be like end of December, because as far as I know, there isn't actually an actual release date for Spec 3. I think it is expected to be around mid-December, because it is going to be the December update that brings the 8 cars in and the changes. But how do you guys feel about Spec 3 update? Because honestly, I'm pretty excited for it. I'll be curious to see how the new handling model works, and also obviously the 2 new tracks and another Formula 1 car to add to the rostrum. Something that's likely going to be part of a future community series, although I've heard some pretty good rumors about the upcoming community series, and I think they're going to be pretty fun, so definitely stay tuned for that. As now it is down to just about the final 10 minutes, but we'll just kind of see. We're actually going to go ahead and take a step back, do another dehydration lap with our current championship and race leader of Nuco. We'll be back. Alright, that was our onboard lap with the current race and championship leader of Nuco, as we're down to less than 10 minutes to go here in the season. This is the season finale here at Suzuka here. The Suzuka International Circuit is a track that's known for a lot of things, but today it is known for the season finale of this series. The LMP Masters coming to an end here in about 8 minutes time. So final standings will come out probably some point later on this week, but we do know that Nuka will be the champion at the end of the day. Lucian will lock in P2. P3 is going to be a bit of an interesting one because I think MayJP, I think he's just going to be short on jumping ahead. I think he would have had to score, I think he would have had to get a P2 to actually get ahead of Yuki to get P3 in the championship. ASJ will jump up to about P7 in this championship, which for only doing the second half of races isn't too shabby, I would say. I'd have to look further into Rogue, Chem, and the Tall Man. But ultimately, it has been a fun series. We've had some good battles here. But yeah, I think it's been a good series. We've had some really good races, some really good battles here. I mean, the ending of Fuji was probably my favorite moment of the season so far, but there's still some good racing coming up here in the next couple of months. The GPL 250 should be right around the corner. Official information about that will be announced here soon. But in the meantime, I'm sure the drivers will already kind of start turning their focus to the Super Formula season. So, and it'll be good for especially some of these rookie drivers because they'll have to learn how to do full tuning, because full tuning is a factor of this Super Formula season, and it was brought back last season, and I don't see it being changed, quite frankly, but the drivers will have to kind of learn how to do the free tuning, and for MayJP, ASJ, Rogue, and Tallman, I think that's going to be, it'll be a good time for that during the break, but I do know that these drivers do have some upcoming events. I know Enduro GT has a round coming up in early November, so that'll be a challenge for these drivers. Tallman actually has a NASCAR race to run on Tuesday, so he'll be keeping himself busy there. And I do know that I know at least for the LFO guys and and I think MayJP, although I don't think MayJP's been officially confirmed yet, but I know they both have a charity race in November, or in mid-November, so that'll be a fun series for them to kind of keep themselves pretty much busy and ready to go for racing during the off-season. And I'm sure the other Romanian drivers will take part in that Enduro GT race. But yeah, just talking about the tracks that are coming in. I will say, out of the two tracks, I do prefer the Canadian Grand Prix over the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in terms of it being a track, but I definitely think there's worse tracks they could have added, honestly. But there's also better tracks they could have added. I think Silverstone still being absent in this game is kind of a crime, personally. Yeah, I think that's honestly a pretty big crime. Imola is an interesting track. I'm not a big fan of it personally. It works good for multi-class racing, I would say, but for like F1 and Super Formula, it's not always the greatest. Mugello, I think, would be a better track for that. Coda is, yeah, I think Coda would be. Coda's been in the data mine, I've heard, for years, literal years. But yeah, Coda would. I think Coda, at least in the first sector, would run into the same problem as Suzuka, where it's just dirty air central. Personally, the track I would like to see them bring in is Bahrain. I love the Bahrain International Circuit, and you get quite a few layouts out of that track too. Because you got the endurance layout, you got the school layout, you got the outer layout that was used for the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix, and then you have the regular F1/WEC layout. So honestly, I would probably, if I were to make any changes, I would trade out Abu Dhabi for Bahrain personally, but I think Abu Dhabi will be a fun one to kind of see how the Super Formula cars navigate around there. I mean, yeah, Mugello is also no track with dirty air issues, but honestly, I think Motegi would have been a really good addition to the game. Or Okayama, one of those two. And I will say, I do wish we got more tracks, but I will not complain about getting tracks, period, because it's been like about a year and a half. It will be a year and a half by the time we get to the Spec 3 update since the last tracks were added. I think Nord1 was the last track that they added, which I may or may not try to convince them to put on the calendar to kind of make it like the GPL Monaco, but the likelihood of that happening is pretty much just kind of slim to none, so. The only battles here on track, or the only cars close to battles, is just blue flagged cars, so as we're coming down to the final 3 minutes of the season, not a lot of racing left to go here, but Motegi is a Japanese track. Yeah, I think MotoGP and Super Formula race on Motegi. And yeah, Paul Ricard's a good one. Okay, so this is another thing too. I think they should add the MotoGP layout for Le Mans as a track option for GT7, because it makes it only like a 2-mile long track. It's also known as the Bugatti circuit, so I think that would probably pop up on in a lot of leagues, I would say. But I've seen it be actually pretty good for MotoGP, and I've seen some people run like a set of course F1 races on it, and I think it's pretty good for that too. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully we don't have to wait as long for new tracks. Hopefully this is just going to be kind of a wave. I would honestly sacrifice like getting new cars each update if we kind of did alternating between a new car and a new track each season or each update, but I mean, there's other tracks too that we can always talk about that we can add to Gran Turismo. I mean, Hockenheim Ring would be a popular pick. Indianapolis would be another popular pick. I mean, the road course is also a fan favorite, but I mean, people can run their own Indy 500s on there. Especially if we do get like a Dallara licensed, like IndyCar or Indy Next, which is not likely, but we are coming down to the final minute and a half of the season here, and Nuko's pretty much just been dominating this race like he's dominated the entire season. Is this a sign of things to come for the Super Formula Series? We'll just have to find out. I've actually commented a few races at the Hockenheim Ring, and it's actually been quite a blast, honestly. So hopefully we see that in Gran Turismo at some point. Silverstone also not being in the game is kind of a crime against humanity, but we are in the final minute of the season here, and we can honestly have this discussion about tracks all day, every day, but the driver on this track who has been absolutely dominant as he's coming out for the final lap of the race, it is Nuko, and he's going to go ahead and just kickstart his final lap of the race here, and he might be the only one finishing on lap 35, or actually finishing at the end of lap 35, so we'll just kind of have to see here. But it's been a dominant drive here for the Toyota man across the entire season. I mean, he has only fallen short of the top step of the podium one singular time, and that was at the Circuit de la Sarthe, aka we all know it's Le Mans. But he's going to go and make his way through the S's for the final time, and finishing up the final lap of the season here in the LMP Masters Community Series. So he's going to go ahead and make his way through the last couple of corners now, the second half of this racetrack. And then that'll be the Community Series wrapped up, done, and dusted. It's just about full speed from here up until the final chicane. He does have to make it through Spoon, which, I mean, even if he does make a mistake, it will be a pretty simple one. But yeah, and actually Nuko will be the only one who will finish on this lap. But Exolution and May JP getting his first podium of the season here. The driver who has recently been signed to High Caliber Racing finally gets that long-awaited podium. A very well-driven race from him. ASJ will come up in 4th, Rogue will be in 5th, Kimisher will be in 6th, and Tallman will be in 7th. But making his way through the Casio Triangle for the final time this season, he's going to come across the line now, and Nuka wins the 1 hour of Suzuka. A dominant drive and a dominant way to cap off the season. Nuko is your Community Series 2 World Champion. As Tallman will be the last car to come across the line here, and but he did actually finish 1 position higher than he started, so not the worst race ever for Tallman, but it was definitely looking for more here today. But he's going to make his way across the line now. He will come home in P7, the last driver to finish. But what a race we have had here in Suzuka. We've had some thrills, we've had some spills. But now, we take a look forward to the GPL 250. Here's your winner and champion, Nuko. Does it again. Another championship to his tally. And he will win here in Suzuka. So we'll go ahead and take a run through the grid here as Nuko does take the victory. Illusion will take the fastest lap of the race, followed by May JP getting his first podium in Grand Prestige League. A massive congrats to the young British driver getting that first podium just after one of his good friends of ASJ, who will come home in P4. Rogue rounding out the top 5, and then we have Keminger, Tallman, and the retiree of Ducky Dono rounding out the grid. Well, that is going to be it for us here today. It's been a fantastic season, but you won't have to wait too long before more racing action, because I believe the GPL 250 will be here before you know it. Once again, a massive thank you to W.GG for partnering with us throughout the season. Just a reminder, use promo code GPL at checkout to get yourself a nice discount. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this season. It's been a blast, because I think honestly my favorite part was seeing how the rookies kind of progressed throughout the season. But yeah, we'll just kind of have to see how they do in the GPL 250, any intermittent events that we may do, and then of course the Super Formula season. Thank you guys so much to everybody who has tuned in throughout the course of the season. We wouldn't be here without you guys. And just be sure to go drop a like and subscribe, turn on post notifications if you haven't already. And before we go off, I do want to give another congratulations to ASJ and May JP, rookie drivers getting their first podiums in Grand Prestige League over the course of the season. And it was last round in Fuji for ASJ, and this time here tonight for May JP. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see what you guys do in the Super Formula season alongside Rogue and Tallman. Looking forward to see how all these rookies do in the next season. But that is going to wrap things up here at the Grand Prestige League. Once again, my name is Patrick Coleman, aka Rekus, and I have been your host and commentator throughout the season. And we'll be back next time. Have a good night.